Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Motivating Force podcast. I am Josue, and joining me as always, we have Justin. Now, this is a topic that I've seen be the cause of a lot of problems in our society nowadays. It's been the cause of, one of the leading causes of this cancel culture. And the issue being is that so many people now have access to having their voice being heard almost instantly. Thanks to social media, thanks to other outlets that they have. With the level of technology that we're at now, so many people are just not using their voice correctly, because having your voice heard is a powerful thing. And if you're just throwing it around, not taking credit or not researching the things properly or using your voice correctly, can be damaging to other people as well, not only yourself. But what we're going to be talking about now is the importance of using your voice correctly and being your own voice, embracing your voice the way it was meant to be handled, right? Because opinions are opinions. So, like I said, the issue with cancel culture and a bunch of haters and trolls online on the internet is due to people just throwing their words around, not thinking about it. They're just saying whatever's on their mind. They don't have that face-to-face contact with people, so they feel that they can just say whatever on the internet, right? We've all encountered internet trolls. We've encountered them in video games, up to social media posts and news articles, because now news is just taking everybody's word as it is, right?
Yeah, definitely. Having your voice heard, nowadays it just holds so much more weight, I guess, than what it used to. Before we used to have that clear distinction of the individual, the professional, and the expert. And we also used the news source for what it was, which was news. And sometimes they would have experts and professionals come on and talk about things. But now we're taking their word as golden.
We're taking tweets, we're taking Instagram posts, we're just taking that as golden.
Yeah, we're listening to journalists being the end-all be-all on fields that they've researched on these experts and whatnot, instead of getting it, as they say, straight from the horse's mouth,
Right, and what I want to try to push is for people to stand up for their beliefs and not to follow along any just Joe Schmo, whatever they're just hearing in the outlets, just have your own voice, embrace it, stand up for what you believe it, because you're always going to encounter, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to encounter those haters, those internet trolls. And 9 out of 10 times, if you do encounter them, you're doing something correctly, right? What I want people to do is to use their voice for something positive in the world, right? Don't use your voice to go shame people, go bullying people online. Don't just waste your time and energy just bringing people down.
Yeah, you can... something to think about with the hater thing is people will fight you when you make them uncomfortable.
Right.
And just as it is today, as it was before, when you're telling somebody the right thing or you're telling them to do the right thing, it can make people uncomfortable.
Right.
Because especially if it's not what they're already doing, they're immediately going to get defensive on why they're doing what they're doing. So you're going to always encounter that type of resistance.
Like, for example, right? For us here at the Motivating Force podcast, we try to have our voices heard, but we're also trying to give positivity out to the world. We're trying to leave a positive footprint on this thing that is the internet, on the social media. We are trying to grow from our own research, from our own teachings, whatever we write down on these papers, right? But we're also hoping that somebody else can learn from that. Somebody else can have some kind of impact, that they can do something good with their life that they hold. Maybe one of these internet trolls that are listening, or that they like to comment, whatever, maybe this is that beacon of them needing to step away from that herd mentality, step away from trying to just bully people on the internet. Have your own voice and do something great with it. For example, my father, right? He's not this big named guy or whatever. He doesn't have his own business or anything, but what he does do with his voice on social media, he has a lot of photography that he takes, right? It's also filled with Bible verses. You're always going to have the people that are going to hate on that, or they're going to judge it to an extreme. But what I'm trying to say is that's his voice. He owns it. He's proud. He put something positive or what he believes is positive out into the world. If you like it, you like it. It helps you move on, right? If you don't like it, you don't have to interact with it, but he owns his own voice. It's not somebody else telling him what to post. It's not somebody else influencing him on what to put out there.
Isn't it beautiful that we're not there yet? You know?
As a society,
we're not controlled in that way. We still have the ability to say what we want to say. And before, we used to just get rejected from it, or get rejection and resistance. And now we're entering the point where that type of thing gets you canceled. And then hopefully not, but if we continue down that road of progression, the next thing we're getting is where those voices are silenced.
Yeah.
And that's something that we definitely need to prevent. It's something we're working on preventing as a whole, especially in the podcast community. A lot of the bigger podcast names and whatnot, they're creating their own safe spaces, their own RSSs, their own, outlet for their content that can be unmoderated. And if you really think about that, you can think about that in either way you want, whether you think it's a good thing or not to silence somebody. Mm-hmm. We can talk about that later, right? Not today's discussion. But the point that I'm going to bring to you is that it must be really important to have a voice in the first place, right? Because what you're going to say is, well, that person's so influential, or these voices are so powerful that we have to silence them, or we have to, get some of their content removed, or they can't say these certain things. So you're already agreeing that there's a lot of power to those voices. So how much power do you think you have in your voice?
That wraps up the whole thing, is that your voice is very powerful. And the thing, as a society, I just don't think that we're well adapted in this. Like, it's sped up too quick in the technology that we have, that now, like I said, everybody has this outlet to have their voice heard. And just a lot of people aren't doing that correctly. And I believe it was Spider-Man, don't quote me on this, but like, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So the great power being your voice, you can put it out there. You can leave an imprint on something or someone. So why are you going to be negative with that power? Why are you going to be that villain, right? You're going to go out and you're going to kill people's dreams. You're going to judge them on something that you have no experience on. But when you have your own voice for something positive and meaningful, that can go a long way. And with it going a long way, like, let it be your own voice. Like I said, don't let it be influenced by other people. Get away from that herd mentality. Form your own path and succeed in those challenges that you've set for yourself. Because once you do succeed in those challenges, I guarantee it that your voice will be heard.
Yeah, I can see where that's kind of like the twofold on taking control of your voice and, doing your research, making your educated speeches, your educated thoughts, putting it out into the world, and really being responsible for what you're telling other people, and making sure that you are going to be the source of positivity to help other people. And when you get that strong, affirmation or affirmative voice, right, you can use that with yourself, with being your own voice. And if you're just constantly being negative towards everybody, and you can't do this, you can't do that, this is wrong, you're listening to yourself speak. So what are you telling yourself all day? Well, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're wrong, you can't make this type of growth, it doesn't work like that. You're handicapped because you're XYZ, so you'll never be able to achieve these things in the world. All you're doing is preaching that right back to yourself. You're speaking those things into existence, and you're going to hold on to them probably more so than the people out there getting after it.
Yeah.
So what are you trying to do for yourself here, Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Those haters, or those internet trolls that we like to call them, well, we call them as is, right? They're just not happy with the situation that they're in. They're not secure with what they are. That they're insecure with their place in the world and how they haven't done anything, and they're happy just being in this rut and just stuck there all their life and bringing everybody around them down, or people across the world, because they have the power to do that. So why not? They don't get to see their reaction firsthand. But when you have your own voice and you're leaving that lasting footprint of positivity or motivation or whatever it is, creativeness or something that you're creating within yourself that you firmly believe in, you're doing something so much better than them because they're insecure with where they're at and you are confident in the challenges that you're achieving. Like we've said on I think it was last week, of appreciating those challenges that you set for yourself. So why are you going to let something that's so low on the totem pole of internet trolls tell you that you can't do something?
Yeah, and that kind of goes into play with what I'm saying here, where, when you're trying to be that negative Nancy all the time, you're really preaching to yourself more than you are other people.
Right.
Because they, more so people following the path and getting their life in track and whatnot, they're recognizing these things. They recognize these totem poles. We preach about it all the time with the people you have around you. And if you're going to be that type of person who's going to be having that negativity to spill out all the time, soon you're going to be the one getting the rejection from all your friends and family and whatnot. And then the only thing you have to go back to is your own voice.
Right.
And the only thing your voice has been saying is it's not been some pretty things.
Right. And that's what I'm saying about, you have to be confident in the things that you're doing, right? You can't let that herd mentality or these negative Nancy's bring you down. When you believe what you're saying, believe in the words that you are putting out there, right? When you're leaving these, you're forging this better lifestyle. You're forging that structured lifestyle that we're trying to preach as well. We're not saying if you forge this structured lifestyle, your life's going to be crap, right? That's not the point. We're trying to get you to succeed in life. We want everybody to be millionaires and successful, right? But we do understand that it's going to be tough. You're going to come across so many people that try to put you down, all these voices all over the place. If you need to shut out social media, right? We've even talked about that, where you got to trim off the fat off the social media, or just put your comments on private. If all these trolls and internet haters are just getting out there, it's getting your attention too much, put those comments on private, or where you can't just post anything. Because the important part is that you have your voice heard in a positive light.
I can't tell you how many times on social media, and I've been doing this for years too, before we even get into what we do now. So I kind of like pat my past self on the back for already doing this. And whenever I got those, like, seeing those posts that really just like bothered me or upset me for whatever reason, got triggered, right? And I would write out this really long comment on it. I would reread it, and then I would delete it and move on.
Well, that's also a form of therapy, right? I know that there's I read a book once that it was like, that was the whole concept of it, that this guy told this story, and it was Paranoid Park. I can't remember the author, but I read it in like middle school. But he's telling this whole story, then he accidentally like killed this the security guard that was chasing him. He was jumping on a freight train, right? He regurgitated all of this stuff onto this paper. Then at the end of the book, you find out that he was just reading the book and he tossed it into a fire. But that relieved so much of the stress that he had of holding on to that guilt. I'm not saying that's what you should do when you kill somebody, but it's a form of therapy of relieving that guilt or stress or whatever that anger that you had, right?
Right.
You spilled it all on paper. It gets it out of you. That negativity gets put out on paper, but don't hit post. Don't hit send.
Yeah.
Delete it.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to hear that. You just need to get it off your chest. We understand that. That's why I said times are going to be tough.
Yeah. Well, because who is it? I know Elliot Hulse has spoken about that before too, where he's, it's based on the whole idea of like, when you feel something, it's never wrong to feel something.
Right.
It's human to do that. You're going to feel these so-called negative emotions all the time, whether that's, anger, lust, whatever it is. And it's not a problem until you act upon it. So if you're angry, you didn't do anything wrong. But if you're angry and you go out there and say, you write those comments and you leave these negative remarks towards people, now you're doing something wrong. It's that reaction that determines if you're making the right move in life or if you're making the wrong move.
At the end of the day, once you get all that stuff situated, right, you have controlled your inner self on stopping yourself from posting all these things or reacting in ways that you shouldn't, right? When you do find that voice, even if it's something that you've suppressed for years and you've just been trying to fit into these crowds, right? when you find that voice, you're going to be fulfilled with this feeling of confidence and self-worth because it's yours. You know, you are the individual and you're not just a group. At this point, you're not trying to just fit into these popular kid crowds, or just trying to fit into these incels or like these internet trolls. You're not just regurgitating whatever the media or the news or these tweets are putting out there. You're not just taking them for as is and then spilling them out again. You're doing the research, you're finding your voice to verify and really firmly believe in what you are saying, because the whole point is that your voice is a powerful thing. And the same way with your emotions, just using your voice and communicating with others, that goes so much better for healing relationships and fortifying a better understanding between one another when you communicate. And that's because you're getting it out. You're using your voice to express your feelings, your emotions, and it helps the other person understand instead of just holding it in, dealing with whatever it is that the problem happened. You're just holding that in. That's going to be welling up inside you until you explode. But you want a healthy relationship, so you got to communicate. Again, that's using your voice.
Now, kind of an abstract question here for you. When we talk about using your voice, there's multiple outlets for that too, wouldn't you imagine? Whereas like when you talk about using your voice, as we mentioned about the comment thing, so using your voice could also be what you're writing down or what you're sending out to people. Do you think that also comes out in other like artistic methods as well? So like for people who are really struggling to find their voice, maybe that they can get out there and do something by creating like paintings. Because you even have people like Banksy, who his painting tells a story more than any word he could write about what he's feeling about the world.
Right. That's a great example, because I kind of mentioned it. But when you find that voice, you're putting something out there, whether that be music, whether that be art, whether that be writings, comments, or your voice as we're using right now. We're putting out a podcast using our actual voice. But then there's other people, like you said, like Banksy, that just draws out his emotions on these paintings, and there's people that do it in the forms of books. There's a vast spectrum of options that you have to find your voice. If you're somebody who doesn't like speaking out a lot, you're very introverted, there's plenty of creative outlets that you can have to find your voice. It doesn't mean that you have to go out and speak to crowds or tell everybody what your message is. You can just create it in a different way.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. In my head now, thinking about that a little more, of course, there's I can see where this really is a problem today, because we do push away from the side of creativity so much more now. And like that's that problem, right? Because having that voice and that way to really express yourself being, I guess, the moral of the story here, we're not teaching people the ways to do that, because the ways to express yourself is through creativity.
Right.
And it's to get other people to think about things. And of course, the best way to do that, again, through creativity. We don't teach those things in schools. We don't have art classes in school. We don't have anything like that. It's like
we did. I did, but it was more of like an elective. It's not a required course of explaining to kids and preteens on how to express themselves properly. It's not a requirement. It's just, hey, if you want to take an art class or whatever, you can take, or music.
But also, like, the importance of it isn't taught, though.
Exactly.
There's also another thing, right? Because, I did have an art class or something like that, like in middle school and things. Yeah. But it's like, oh, this is to appreciate art and understand, like, the value of it from before. And what we really miss on is teaching how important it is today to have that kind of thing. And what it takes for every single person to be able to express themselves. You know, of course, we need to admire the greatest people of their times in every subject. But on that same note, everybody needs to just have that added to their portfolio. They need to have some type of creative outlet to be able to express themselves. Like you're saying, you can do that through, oration, through writing, through music, through painting. There's so many different ways. And for people who are trapped and not really being able to find their clear voice, explore different options instead of using your exact voice.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's not being a required subject or even like just a lesson. It can just take a couple of days. Just getting that message across to the people that are the most influenced in society, and that's, like I said, the kids, the young adults, the preteens. Those are the ones that are really impacted by the voices that they're hearing all over because they're trying to find their own voice. They don't know it yet. They don't know what their voice is, what their path for their life is yet.
What they're going to stand for, what they're going to make a difference for in the world.
And a lot of times it's usually just trickled down from family, from friends. And that's the last point that I wanted to have is for the people that do know what their voice is, they just have it suppressed or they haven't let it out yet, or the people that are just scared to actually embrace that voice, is that you need to fortify it. You can't have, like I said, your parents, your friends, them all molding you to what they want you to be. Because like I said, your voice, you're the individual. This is your life. You need to stand up for it, really believe it, do that research that it takes to, be strong with what your creative outlet is. If it's music, if it's you want to be a journalist, okay, then do the due diligence of the research. Don't just take these tweets. Don't just take these random articles written by other journalists that are just taking tweets. Really dig into it. Find that voice, because if you let all these people suppress you and mold you to whatever it is, that's just some dictator-ass relationship you're in. You need that freedom of speech. You need to be able to express yourself. You need to be able to express that individual. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. It's no one else's. They're not living your life for you, so why are they telling you how to live? So the last thing I want to give you is just to use your voice wisely when you do find it. Use your voice for something positive in this world and leave some kind of great imprint on this thing we called life.
Like the last point that I would really have on that for myself is when we're kind of gearing this towards people who still need to find their voice, don't let somebody else find that voice for you. Because like you just said, if people are going to try to influence you one way or another, and they're going to try to tell you what you should stand up for, what is right, what is wrong, don't fall for that stuff, man. Find yourself, know yourself, find your voice, and then understand what differences you want to make in the world. Don't just ride the bandwagon because it's the easy way out. Because I know, and it's so, that's why it's the easy way out. It's easy. We love to do that kind of thing. And, you want to hop on the environmental train, or you want to hop on the veganism train, or, even the carnivore train, because you have every end of the spectrum.
Yeah, you also have that comfort, the quote unquote stability and being safe in that environment where it's other people kind of telling you what to do or telling you what to think. And you're just kind of like, okay, I'm with other people. If I need anything, they're there. And you're not finding your own voice to oppose that or just find your own path.
Yeah, you have this support group that's always behind you, giving you the thumbs up when you're saying stuff. And if you have to be looking back at people for approval on what you're saying, you are not confident in what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for approval. If you do your research on the things you want to make a change for in this world, you will come out there, you will look every single person in the eye and just tell them how it is. And then whether you have 1 million people behind you or nobody, when you get confronted about your beliefs, you can just, here's all my research, here's all my facts on it. Go ahead. Let's have a intelligent conversation about this.
Right.
And move forward with it, And that's the hard way. And I know that's the hard path to take, but look at everybody who is making a difference in this world and is making changes in this world. They are the forerunners of the people with the bandwagon behind them.
Yeah.
The people that hop on their easy train. Be that forerunner. Get out there. Do the research for things you care about. Because that's easy. I mean, you care about it. Why not know more? Get out there. Get after that information. Stand for what you believe in. Make your voice heard. And truly believe within yourself that you're doing the right thing.
Right. And listen, guys, we really believe in the things that we are putting out there. We wouldn't be putting it out here if we didn't stand behind it, if we didn't do the research that we do to actually come in front of the camera and tell you guys. So all we ask for in return is just if you can like the video, if you can comment down below something, tell us what you think, tell us your thoughts. If you found your voice, what it is, if you have any creative outlets that you also recommend for other people to find, you can leave that down below in the comments. Remember to share the video also with all your friends, family, people that you hold dear to you, that you want them to succeed as well. We'd really appreciate you can share that page with them.
Yeah, we drop new videos every Monday and Wednesday at 8 a.m. EST. And I guess my question for the day for you guys, I'd love to know down below, what is your artistic outlet? Whether personal, private, whatever it is, something nobody's ever seen before, what is it? What do you prefer to do? I'd love to hear from you guys.
With that, actually, what you can do, you can also tag us in your social media pages or whatever the case may be. We have Facebook, Parler, and Instagram. The links to all of those are down in the description below, and we'd love to see them. Check out all the art, the music, whatever the creative outlet is. We'd really love to be a part of that, so tag us in that.
And until next time, go on and get.